Hello, truth seekers. We all know someone that says they're spiritual but not religious. In fact, a recent Gallup poll indicated that fully 33% of Americans identify this way. I'm sorry, I lost my place. It also turns out the label aligns not only with age, but political ideologies as well, with more older people and more Republicans identifying as religious, while the younger generations and incidentally Democrats say they are more spiritual. But what exactly does spiritual mean? If you identify as spiritual but not religious, give us a call to explain it because the show is starting right now. Okay, and welcome again to another episode of Truth Wanted. Boy, did I flub that intro, huh? I am your host, Kelley Laughlin, and this is a live call-in show that happens every single Friday at 7 p.m. Central, where we like to talk to people about what they believe and why they believe it. And if you'd like to, you can call us at 1-512-991-9242, or you can get a hold of us through your computer at tiny.cc/calltw. Truth Wanted is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. And I am like really super psyched and happy to be here tonight because my guest is the amazing Cynthia McDonald. Hi, Cynthia. How are you?
Hello, Kelley. How are you?
I'm fantastic as I get to work with you this evening.
Oh, that's so lovely. Even though that's like what you never say until we're actually on air. Just kidding. I'm really excited to be here with you too, especially when I heard that. Oh, Kelly's going to be running the show today. Yay! It's a nonprofits takeover. Woohoo!
Yeah, right. Yeah, you know what? I was going to actually do something and I forgot. I was going to go, welcome to another episode of the Non-Pro. Oh,
Wrong show.
but you picked our topic for this evening about spirituality versus religiosity. So what made you think about picking that topic?
Well, we recently did an episode on the nonprofits about this Gallup poll that came out concerning the rise of people who call themselves spiritual and versus like saying that I actually am affiliated with a specific religion. And I know that, and I believe that you were on that show too, Kelley,
I was.
along with Jimmy Jr. and I'm trying to think. I think it was also Infidel
I
64.
think it was.
Yeah. So and basically we all really talked about um where first this Gallup poll was going. And then also we talked about what specifically does spiritual mean. And I know that one of the things that I said that I struggled with that particular topic because I really don't know what that means. I thought I did
Hmm.
when I was a Christian. I used to claim spiritual all the time, and I used to use words like it's not about religion, it's about relationship. But as I really started to examine those things, I just realized that I was just repeating things that I heard others say, and especially from the pulpit. But
Right.
but when I really started to examine, like, okay, what does that mean? Especially what does that mean to me? It really didn't mean anything. It was just empty words. So if like I am very curious to actually hear from other people who identify that way, if they can kind of like tell us
Hmm.
what that means to them.
I am too, and I want to talk about this some more before we get started. But before we do that, I want to do the last week's results of "We Want the Truth" or the WWTT segment. And last week we asked you wrong answers only. The reason the economy is struggling is because blank. And here are some of our favorite answers. You want to read the first one, Cynthia?
Sure, lay it on me.
Oh, I guess I'm sorry. I thought you had a copy of the document.
I
And number
don't.
3, David Dickey. The reason the economy is struggling is because we're borrowing from Peter to pay Paul.
Well, well, Paul did fall off the road to Damascus,
Yeah, I
and
don't know
he
that.
and
Go
he
ahead.
may. Well, I was just thinking that he probably lost his money purse when he fell off the beast
Yeah.
or the horse. So you got to pay
I
it
was
back.
I was thinking. I'm not so sure that's a wrong answer. Is when I was thinking.
It's oddly specific.
And number 2, no channel here, bro, says the reason the economy is struggling is because mercury is in Gatorade or something. I don't know. I'm no astronomist. I love that answer.
Oh my gosh. And it's kind of funny because I used to believe that like everything people are calling me who I haven't spoke to in a very long time. Mercury must be in Gatorade. That deep down body thirst.
And number 1, where's the drum roll? Oh, my band's being stuck up.
Yeah, sorry.
From Winston Jen, the reason the economy is struggling is because Elon Musk bought Twitter.
Dun, 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 dun. Thank you. Thank you.
And our prompt for this week is write a fortune cookie message that is oddly specific. What do you think, Cynthia? Do you have one that's oddly specific?
I do. I did get help with this one, Kelley. I'm not even going to lie. I asked my friend Chat GPT to write me a fortune cookie that was oddly specific and a fortune cookie message rather. And this is what it came up with. Your inner couch potato will awaken precisely at 3:47 p.m. this Saturday, compelling you to binge watch a cheesy 90s sitcom while snacking on strangely addictive combination of pickles and peanut butter. Embrace the weirdness.
That is very specific. Very, very.
I chat GPT once again. Thank you. Oh goodness. Do we have any more that you want to bring up, Kelley?
I do. I had more couple things that I wanted to talk to you about our topic. We're talking about spirituality versus being religious. What do you think is the difference between the two? What sets one off from the other, do you think?
About spiritual versus religious? I don't know. I think that maybe just and I'm just thinking like, how we've covered a bunch of people leaving church and leaving religion, but not necessarily leaving belief. We have a rise of the nons, people who are non-religious or irreligious. But I don't necessarily think that they're really ready to put away the I believe in God moniker, right?
Hmm.
And so I'm just thinking that maybe this is like a way station they kind of like stopped on in order for them to still say like I don't necessarily know if I want to mess with organized religion, but I still feel some type of connection to humans and to the earth and to the universe and when the moon is in the seventh house and Jupiter rises with Mars and the dawning of the age of Aquarius and some shit like that. I don't
And Mercury is in Gatorade.
know. Exactly.
All right. And another thing, one of the things that somebody said to me, because I was asking some of my friends that have said this,
Mm,
and probably the best answer I got was, religion usually involves some kind of an organized thing, and you're told what to believe. But
mm.
spirituality is very personal, and it doesn't have any rules.
Okay. Okay. I guess I can get with that a bit. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that like if people are trying to leave like some type of commandments, like whether if it's like 10 or 603 or whatever we're depending on what religion we're discussing, and they find that very confining, which it is, but kind of want to do their own thing. and see kind of where that takes them. I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, I think that one of the things that you said, Kelley, that you kind of think that this is like a way station to atheism.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it is. I think a lot of I'm not going to say all atheists, or I don't even know if it's a lot, but in my experience, and it might just because it's standing out to me because I'm thinking about it, but a lot of atheists that I have met have used that spirituality as a way station on their way to get to atheism. I certainly did it. What
Yeah.
I thought was spirituality instead. So yeah, and I don't know if it's true for a whole lot of people, but it's certainly true for some of us.
Sure. Sure thing.
And
Yeah.
that was one of the things I was going to ask you too. What is, in your experience, what has what does it seem that most people who use the word spiritual, what do you think it means to them?
Mm. Um, I think that they use it as some way to, make it as personal as possible. I think that they probably, because like I remember, if I kind of think about a story time, when about a couple of years ago, I had a conversation with this lady about why I don't believe. And then another person like chimed in and said and started to question me as well. And so I stopped them and I asked them, could you please define God? Like, what is God? Who is God? And she said the universe. And I was like, okay, so what does that mean? Like, what does that mean when you're saying the universe? Like, are you talking about um different objects within the universe, like stars and planets and electromagnetism and gravity and the teapot that's probably orbiting Saturn as we speak right now? I mean, like, are you talking about that, or are you talking about something that is metaphysical, not something that can't be kind of touched or is really tangible or even being able to be seen with the naked eye, but you kind of believe it's there? And she really couldn't answer that question. So I'm assuming that maybe it's the latter. Maybe you're thinking about something that you think that is there, because like when I asked one person about evidence to give for belief of in a God, I was told that, well, you can't see wind, but it's there. I said, You're right. You can't see it with your eye, but we do have methods that we can measure wind so we know it exists. What kind of methods do you have to measure or to even like point empirically to a God existing? And then, even if you had one, then you have to ask which God, because depending on what religion we're talking about, it's going to be several or maybe one, or there he's going to have a different name and all types of stuff. So
Mhm.
I think that mostly people are just like in the way of trying to make something that makes sense to them, that's not necessarily within the confines of like an organized religious force that has been with us for thousands of years, etc.,
Yeah,
etc.
like some sort of set dogma that's
Yeah,
written down, right? We don't have to
yeah,
follow this book, right?
yeah, exactly.
Or this guy who's standing in front of everybody. We don't have to follow him, although many of them do anyway. But
This is true. This
yeah.
is true. They will say, "Oh well," because like I know like a person who also has claimed this whole thing about being spiritual but not necessarily religious, but talks about being guided by Jesus. And I'm like, that's kind of religious, right? You know,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah, but they're doing it on their terms, though. That's the whole. I think that's it. And it's like when you look at those polls when they show the nuns, the people not affiliated with the religion. I
Hmm.
think there's still a lot of religious people in that group of people. They just don't affiliate with it. I still believe in Jesus, but I don't ever go to any of those churches.
Right. I
You
go to
know, so
bedside Baptist.
mhm.
Exactly. Yeah. Hmm. Knocking fire from sleep in the Catholic Church in the morning. Yeah. Which I mean, I guess is fine. I think that like for me, where I land with all of this is that I don't really care what people believe or not believe. As long as it doesn't get into the point where you're trying to push your belief on me or anybody else, or even try to make your belief law,
Yes,
right? Oh,
I was
you
just
know,
going to say that.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like as we always talk about the flying spaghetti monster and like, and the acolytes of meatballs that might be coming through. Uh if you
And,
want to believe in that,
and that's something
go.
we talk about a lot of nonprofits too, is,
We do.
trying to
We
put
do.
religious ideals into law.
Yeah. And which
So
is a
if that's
no-no.
something that interests you, dear viewer, come and check us out on nonprofits too.
Yes. We post I think that we either like post either at noon or at 6 we premiere a new episode throughout the week.
Hmm.
So check us out.
6 p.m. Central.
Central Time. Yep.
So we have a couple of calls.
Yay.
So we're going to take Chris from Iron Mountain, Michigan. It says here. We'll bring her on. I happen to know Chris.
Hey.
She has called in before. Hi, Chris.
Yes. Hi, Chris. Hi, Kelley.
How are you?
I just want to tell you about a story of an encounter with a ghost that through many years, through my family's history.
Is this the Humpy story?
Pardon?
Is this the Humpy story?
The Humpy story. You know the Humpy story?
Yeah, you called in a few weeks ago with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
And
for all the people that didn't hear it, go ahead and give us a quick summary of it.
Several people had seen Humpy. It started with my brother when he was quite young, and it continued on. Several different people in the household seen Humpy. All described him the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And even my brother and I have discussed recently, when did Humpy leave? What kind of events happened? Why is he gone? And I'm a believer that we're all energy. You can't create or destroy energy.
Okay.
I just want your take on it.
I'm not sure how that's relevant to a ghost, but the energy thing.
Yeah. Do you hi Chris. Hi Chris. This is my name is Cynthia. Thank you for calling in. I got a couple of questions for you. I kind of want to go back to the whole thing about energy. Where so like how are you connecting energy and Humpy the ghost?
Humpy. Yeah. I just feel I'm very susceptible, and my brother is too, to energy, electrical storms. He can't do any kind of electrical therapy. We've had experiences where we are very susceptible to energy bursts. I was probably the only one. Well, I shouldn't say it because it was documented, but I was one of the few people at work where I had an encounter with one of our, I lack a better expression because I don't want to reveal too much, but where you had to plug in a unit to charge and literally just knocked me to the wall. And I was like, what the hell? What just happened here? And I happened to call because I was by myself, another person that I worked with explained, had it documented, had to go to the hospital because they had to monitor my heart for.
You got electrocuted. I'm taking
it. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Well, yeah, very, very possibly. And I was told afterwards, because they literally at work kind of covered it up. Major company. But I
As they
found out
as
from
they
a mutual friend, within the company, that it had been documented, and the static electricity that can build up in that port can generate more than a lightning strike.
Oh dear.
And even at the hospital, they were asking me, were you standing in water? And like, no, I was on a carpet floor over tile. Did you rub your feet? What kind of insoles do you get? I have rubber insoles. So
okay,
I just
okay. But we still haven't established the link between the ghost and energy.
Right.
Oh, well, that's what I'm explaining. I feel we are all energy. It cannot be destroyed or created. And that's why this ghost.
It can be stored, though, right?
Pardon?
It can be stored, though, right?
Did you say floored?
No, stored.
Stored.
You know, like in a battery, energy can be stored in a battery.
Oh, stored. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So like when we die, the energy in our body would go into the earth where it was stored to be used by plants, say. Does that make any sense?
Well, no, not really. No.
Why not?
I don't believe you're going to store your I don't think you're going to store your energy in a plant.
That's exactly what happens, though. That is exactly what happens, though. Like
energy.
Like a living thing would turn. A living thing would turn into compost, and a living thing would turn into compost, and the plant would use that compost for energy.
Right.
No, I don't.
Yeah, that's how it works. That's exactly how it works. I mean, that is literally how the world works.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll go with you on
that's like dinosaurs, or actually, it's not really dinosaurs. It's actually like Carboniferous forests. When they died off, the energy of the living plant was stored in coal, which is done unlocked when we burn it or use it.
So where was the energy of this spirit? Where was the energy of this spirit to magnetize itself in this ancient Knickerbocker hunched over man? Where was it stored in a plant?
Well, we're making a bunch. Chris, I love you to death, though. I don't want to take any of this personally because we do know each other. But you're making a lot of assumptions there. First off, you're making the assumption that this thing was there. You're making, and I'm not saying it wasn't. I can't. Obviously, people experience something, right? Mm-hmm. But you're also making an assumption that this thing, if it is there, had energy. And I'm not, and that was exactly what I was asking. How do you connect the energy with the apparition?
Because when I experienced this, my friend and I, we were sitting at a dining room table, and we both all of a sudden felt the need to look towards our kitchen sink, left, right, whatever, vice versa. And so that was the energy wanting us to look.
How do you one moment, Chris, like, okay, so you mentioned, I kind of want to go back to that. You mentioned that you and your friend all of a sudden had the need to look at the kitchen sink.
Yes.
And then you said that was specific. That was the actual, I guess, spirit that wanted
apparition.
You to, the apparition ghost that wanted you to look that way in order for you to be able to see it. How do you know that the spirit really wanted you to look at it from just because you felt this need? How do you know that?
I believe that had it not wanted us to see it, it wouldn't have made us feel that. Same thing like when electrical storm is coming, the hair on the back of my neck stands up. I can tell if there's going to be electricity in my area.
Okay, well,
I can't. Same thing with horses.
Wait, hold
forces.
on for a second. One second, Chris, because I don't want us to get away too much with different examples. I kind of want to stick to what we're talking about right here. So bear with me, because I'm really, I'm asking questions so I can get an understanding of what you're saying. So can we go back to when you said that you felt or you believed that this spirit wanted you to see it, and that's the reason why you had the need to turn around, you and the person that was with you. Okay, may I ask this question? Does everything that a person believe, does it make it true because they believe it?
Absolutely not.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm glad that we're on the same page. So I have, and I'm not saying I don't know you, Chris, and I'm not saying that you're not telling the truth. I have a problem when people would say, I believe that this was blah blah blah. But when we're actually trying to get, when we're trying to get like some clarification on what the belief is, it's kind of like nebulous. It's not really leading us to actually evidence, and that's what we really want. We want empirical evidence to say
the same thing.
The closest
a friend
thing.
of my brother,
Uh-huh.
a friend of my brother was awoken at night. Okay. There had to be some kind of energy that awoke him, that he thought he was dreaming.
Okay.
And he told us the story about he woke up, something woke him up. He didn't know what it was. Something woke him up. He sat up in bed and he looked over at the dresser. The bottom dresser drawer opened and out Humpy came. He described the same individual. And we're at the breakfast table and he started telling the story. We're all looking at each other and we yelled, Humpy! And he's looking at us like,
can we, so let's go back to this whole thing about, you said your brother awoke out of his sleep? Is that
my brother's friend,
your brother's friend
home from the military, that had no clue, no history.
Okay, so he awoke from his sleep. He happened to look at the dresser. The drawer opened up, and then all of a sudden came out Humpy, right? This is what he said. Okay. Now, when this is a little difficult for me as well, and I'll tell you why. When people can wake up from all types of different things all night, it doesn't, like, sometimes sleep can be interrupted for whatever reason. Maybe you're not completely in a space where you can be rested. Sometimes even some scientists say that by the time that we even get to REM sleep, or like rapid eye movement sleep, that's like we experience that the least.
I got another story for you after this, but
yeah. Well, let's stick to Humpy. Let's stick to this one, because this is what you called about. So,
I know, but this is on the same level.
It's another Humpy story.
Oh yeah, understandable, but but since you wait a minute, hold on. Okay, hold on, Chris. Let's examine this. Your brother's friend coming back from the military said that he awoke at night and that he happened to see something. Okay, now people, like I said, happen to wake up for all types of reasons at night. Especially, is this the first time that he was actually in the home?
Yes.
Okay, so this is an unfamiliar area.
He was from Hawaii.
Okay, he was from Hawaii. I'm saying, but this is the first time that he was in your home. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so and what I was saying is, this is an unfamiliar place. This is an unfamiliar area. This is not a place that he's used to.
How does he describe the same entity to the T of what he looked like?
Well,
with the knickerbockers.
Okay.
And hunched over.
Okay, with the knickerbockers and I can't. Well, I don't doubt that he saw something. and he probably saw something at night. The darkness was happening, correct? Don't no lights were on. Is that right?
One of the things
it's
I don't
pitch
like,
dark.
had he never been with your family, your brothers, you never ever possibly have ever heard that story
Never.
ever in his life?
You
Ever?
never heard the story about
Never.
Humpy?
No, I'm not asking if he. I'm not
Never,
even asking
ever.
if he did hear it. I'm asking if it was actually, if it was possible for him to have heard it.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
So
Did
he
you
had never hung
ever?
out with
At
anybody.
all.
The first time he had ever met anybody in the family was the night that he spent there in the house.
Other than my brother,
Mhm.
they were new to each other in the military. And no, my brother, he doesn't discuss this because it's been very upsetting to him. So no,
Okay.
there's no way
Did you
ever
do
he would have
Chris?
heard this
Chris,
story.
Chris, may I ask you another question?
Mhm.
Do you, while your brother may be deployed or away, do you actually speak with him over the phone?
My brother and I,
Yes.
my brother and I see each other all the time.
Yeah, I understand that. What I was asking is, like, when your brother was away in the military, did you talk with him while he
No,
was away?
no,
You never
no.
you never spoken with him while he was away?
No, I think I made him a cassette tape once.
Okay.
Sent it off,
Mhm.
music tape, and my girlfriend and I talking and giggling, and that's about it.
Okay. Okay. So I'm not going to, I can't really speak to what happened that night because I was not there. I do believe
Well, of
that
course not.
your brother's friend possibly experienced something, but and even like he may have been describing something that all of you guys have seen, but all of you all have seen all types of things inside your house. That's your house.
The exact.
Okay.
Like I said, not everybody. My parents never saw Humpy. Only
Mhm.
my brother, myself, my best friend,
Okay.
and my brother's
Friend.
acquaintance that he brought home, or
Mhm.
friend, for a
Mhm.
holiday.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
that's the only people I know.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't
And
yeah.
also my friend that I was that when I first saw Humpy, I had never told her the story of Humpy. That was like that at that point. That was like my brother, like an ancient story. Like, oh, he saw something. He's goofy, and we laughed at him
Mhm.
until I experienced it. And
Mhm.
so she had never, and that's, we looked at each other. It's like, did you see what I see? I don't know. What did you see? And then we told each other, and it's like, it was the exact same thing. We saw the exact same thing.
Mhm. So you guys actually had a conversation and you both like kind of like corroborated each other's stories just by basically talking with one another
After it happened, yeah, it's like,
after it
what the
happened.
hell just happened here? Yeah, what the hell? What did you see?
Uh-huh.
Well, what did you see? Kind
Mhm.
of one of those. It was, we
Okay.
were both kind of like, what the hell?
Mhm. Have
Yeah,
you are you familiar with confirmation bias?
nope,
So
no clue what that is.
confirmation bias is basically when you are I'm trying to get the textbook definition, but I'll just try to give like the unabridged version. But confirmation bias is basically when you may see something or experience something, may talk to another person about it, and if you guys are kind of like in the same area of actually believing similar things, that you could possibly talk with one another and to confirm what you believe. And if you are people,
How,
and even though like and the only
how,
reason why I'm saying this, no, this is the only reason why I'm saying this, is because you were talking with your friend, both of you experienced something, and you experienced it around the same time. You all started to talk, and then all of a sudden, oh yes, that's exactly what I saw. Is that kind of what happened?
You're putting something that's not there.
Oh
No.
no, I'm trying to. I'm not. I promise you, I'm not trying to.
I said I saw a man.
Okay,
And she
you said you
he
saw
was
a man.
hunched over. I said yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you
that's
both.
what I saw.
Okay.
I now
Yeah,
please
go back.
don't take it personal. Cynthia's trying to maybe find some other explanations
Yeah,
for what
I
you saw.
understand
That's
that,
all.
but that is not what happened. That
She's not
is
trying to.
so
She's not
far
trying
from
to
it.
put anything onto it. She's just trying to
Yeah.
come up with other ideas. That's
No,
all.
Yeah,
I promise you,
I'm
Chris.
just
I'm not
saying
trying to.
that's not it.
Yeah, I'm not
That's
trying
not
to
it.
I'm not trying to misrepresent what you're saying. I promise you, I'm not trying to do that. I'm really trying to understand. But the
Mhm.
thing that I'm having difficulty with, and this is the reason why we do shows like this, is that when people
Mhm.
are actually calling in and saying that I've seen a ghost, and other people seen some, and people who were around me, they saw the same thing, and when we're trying to ask clarifying questions to to see if that's the closest thing to possibly factual, as we are not necessarily getting
Oh,
there, because there's some pieces that are missing, as
understand.
yeah,
Understand.
that's the reason why
But
I was asking you, are you familiar with
no,
that?
yeah, not. But that is not the conversation that was said. Um, that is not what happened. We
Okay,
both
so
saw the same
okay,
thing.
repeat
And
the so
then,
can
like
you
I said, my
okay,
brother's
wait.
friend
Oh,
described the
Hold on,
exact same.
hold on
how
before you.
how how long ago was this conversation?
Oh gosh, I was 15.
You were
Um,
15.
So
Okay.
what? 30,
yeah,
20, 10 years, 20
55
years, 30
years
years,
ago.
35,
55 years ago.
55.
55 years ago. Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh
So
well,
this
52. Sorry, 52 years ago.
52
I
years
did the
ago.
math now.
Okay.
52
Okay.
years ago.
Okay. Is it a possibility? And I'm again not trying to misrepresent, just trying to get some, some clarification. But
Hmm.
there's a
Yep.
possibility that, as you all are are recalling these
Oh,
events, or you're recalling these events,
no,
then maybe just I mean, but but Chris, it's 52 years is a long time. 52
I'm just
years
saying
is
when you
You
experience something like that, you
uh-huh.
never forget it. Ever.
I,
Well,
I've experienced
Ever.
things like that, Chris. I worked in a haunted bar and had all kinds of weird experiences in that bar. But I
Okay.
never stopped
Okay.
I never stopped wondering about what it was that could have happened, other than there was a ghost there.
Mm-hmm.
I always looked for other
Well,
explanations. I never once, even to this day, 30 years later, have said, no, there's no other possibility but that. I've always tried to keep an open mind to it.
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Exactly. And that's why my brother and I just recently talked about where did Humpy go? What happened to him? What kind of events made him stop coming? We don't know if it's because of our age. Um, we don't know. Why didn't my parents ever see him?
So
You
like
know,
so like a lot of you all saw Humpy when you were fairly young.
well, my brother was probably 10.
Okay.
Rex was probably 20.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's the span there.
Okay.
I maybe more receptive. I don't know what it is, but
Well,
I know what I saw.
okay. Well, I remember seeing a lot of different things. I'll give you an example, Chris. I got a quick story. When I was in college, I lived in a dorm that was one of the oldest dorms in the state of Illinois. And because
Hmm?
it was an old girls dorm, it was said to be haunted. Excuse me. And
Mm-hmm.
people would a lot of times talk about the story behind the person who haunted it. Her name was Mary. I don't know why Marys always haunt things, but a lot of
Oh
Marys
God,
seem to
Bloody Mary,
haunt things.
Bloody
Yeah,
Mary.
all this
Yeah,
type of stuff, right? Yeah, Mary seems to always be like the person that's haunting things. I don't know. Mary needs to get some business,
yeah.
but that's neither
I
here
don't
nor
know.
there. Anyway, but but regardless, so a lot of people were talking about there was a piano that was in like the common area, like a big living room area that was very old. And the story was that she
Mm-hmm.
was playing that piano at night, and that and someone came in to the dorm, snuck in and killed her. And because it was and the person who killed her never that was never solved. Okay. And then so
Mm-hmm.
because her murder was never solved, it was said that she would haunt that dorm to this very day. Now I remember like me and my friends would talk about this. I think that we were around the same age as the brother's friend, around 19, 20. I know that we were fairly young. And if there was even a part of the dorm that was closed to and that was never
Yeah, I'm
renovated, so they
already
could have it.
skeptical.
Yeah, as you should be. But but what ended up happening was is that I remember one night I was asleep. All of a sudden I had a feeling to wake up, and then I swear that I actually saw Mary standing over me,
Oh,
looking at me, and the whole thing. And then I remember having this conversation with friends of mine, and I described what I saw, and they said, "Oh my gosh, you saw Mary. That's exactly what she looks like." And then some other people was like saying that, "Well, I saw her too." And I said, "Oh, you did? And what did you see?" And they said, "Well, it was just like what you said. A person that's very pale, black hair, kind of to the shoulder length, wearing a white gown, etc., etc." And then and I thought about that all the way even after I graduated college, about was it something, did what I saw, was it real or was it true or not? And then that's when I started to ask questions like, could it be that I had confirmation bias because I believed in ghosts and spirits, and some of my friends did too? Could it be that we heard these particular stories so
okay.
many times that we became
Can,
susceptible? I'm
can
not
I?
I'm not saying that this is I'm not saying that
Yeah,
this is you. One second. I'm not saying
I
that this is
understand.
you, but I'm just saying
Let me
that
just
a lot of times I'm
let
just
me
hold on,
let
let
me
me just
tell you
finish
about
my
a
thought.
recent.
Wait 1 second, Chris. Let me just finish my thought, and then you can go ahead and go. A lot of times when we are experiencing certain things, we're not saying that the experience did not happen, but a lot of times when we're experiencing certain these things, that it's a possibility that there's certain things that could have been, we were susceptible to something. We had conversations about these particular things. Even you said that you and your brother, when you were young, you would talk about Humpy and what you saw, and you would describe to each other the different things that you saw. And then you had that conversation again when the brother's friend came to visit. So there's could there I'm just asking, could there be a possibility that you guys kind of had conversations with one another that could have possibly influenced your belief in this particular ghost?
No,
Is it
it wasn't
possible?
brought up, and like I said, no, not possible because it wasn't brought up. Conversations weren't before Rex visited or while or anything like that. Furthest thing from our mind, we put it out of our mind. And now I'm going to interject something here that
Sure, go ahead.
just recently happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, okay, I I like cats. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I had 3 cats. I inherited one from a friend, and I'm sorry, but she was a bitch. Anyway, I took care of her as
Okay.
best as I can, and she came down with all kinds of health problems and this and that. And long story short, we had to put her down. And I was still trying to nurse her back. And I prayed, God, give me the answer. Tell me how to help her. Tell me what to do. How can I best help her? I prayed literally for 2 hours. The next day, I woke up and she was dipping her paws in her water dish, which she hadn't done since she was real sick before. I called my husband. He said, I think it's time. I'll call the vet. And I was crying. He set up an appointment for us to take her in. I still wasn't sure about it. Is there something more we can do? Is there any more medication? Anything? I mean, we spent literally thousands of dollars on this cat at this point. Okay, so I was going to go to the gym. I had to pick up, I knew it was going to happen, so I stopped at Walmart. I got to pick up something to put her in. I bought something, and it's like, okay, I need something to wrap her in. Oh, there's beach towels on sale, on clearance. I'll get this. And then it's like I'm walking past the bedding aisle. And it's like, well, maybe there's one of those fuzzy blankets that we have on the couch. Literally, that whole aisle in Walmart that had these rolled up fuzzy blankets was full, except in the middle, on the bottom shelf, there was a 4-foot gap with one blanket right on the edge that had paw prints. Oh, I said, okay, that's for Ziva. Okay, so I took that, put the beach towel back, bought it, went to work out. They were wonderful. I just rode the bike for an hour and got out, and I had to go to physical therapy. So I usually didn't go the route I did. I don't know why I did, but I took a different route.
Okay.
I went past a church, and on the marquee said, be brave and courageous. Your work will be rewarded.
Okay.
Like, oh boy. Okay.
Well, look, Chris, let me ask you, what ended up happening to the cat?
Let me go on, because there's really more to this.
Okay, well, but
Okay,
but because
the
only reason why wait 1 second, Chris. I don't mean to rush you, but the only reason why I'm asking, because we do have other callers in queue and we want to definitely get to them, but I want to make sure that we hear you out to kind of get to what it is that you wanted to discuss. So you said that and I wanted to go back to say that you prayed for the cat for over 2 hours, spent thousands of dollars on this cat. Your husband said, that's it. You probably thought that the cat was no more, right? And then after that, certain things happen in between, and then how did the cat fare? How did that happen?
The cat was put down. We came home. We dug a grave. Okay, and I mean, we dug it out 4 feet. Piling up the dirt and this and that, and put her down in there. And we made it all nice and this and that. And my husband is like scraping the leaves off and this and that. And I went to stand up and I looked down and I said, I picked this light blue cat eye marble, the same color of her eyes, off the middle of that grave we just dug and buried. I looked at my husband, he looked at me, and I was like, oh my God. And when I turned it over, it was slightly cloudy, just like her eyes went when she passed. And I said, you know what this is? This is Ziva saying, thank you. Those were the signs that it was okay. And that's...
So these signs that you said that was okay, it was okay that she passed away, that she was buried,
that we were doing the right thing, that we were doing the right thing to allow her to pass on.
Okay. All right. And so did you feel that for some reason that was God telling you through these signs that it was okay for her to pass on?
Absolutely.
Okay. So how do you know
Absolutely.
that? How do you know that?
The signs he gave me. I prayed for them. He
Mm,
gave me the signs, the marquee, the blanket. You didn't hear, but even in the veterinarian, when her nose started running blood, those were
uh-huh.
all signs that she needed to go. She needed help to go on. She needed
Okay.
not to be in pain anymore. And it was okay for me to let her go. And then the marble on that grave was just
Mm-hmm.
her saying thank you.
Hmm.
I don't believe in coincidences. I
Okay.
don't.
Yeah. So, well, first off, thank you for being a humanitarian and actually taking care of the cat until it passed away. So that just shows that you're a very compassionate person. But I'm still having some difficulty with correlating because you've seen this. You saw the marble on the grave. You saw the blanket at Walmart. You saw her actually dipping her paw in the water, and all these different things that has happened. And then and then you knew after seeing these particular signs that she was saying thank you and it was okay for her to pass on. um I would think that like anytime like a human or an animal that's suffering and needs to go ahead and not suffer anymore should not suffer anymore. But I'm still having difficulty actually correlating to how is it that you knew specifically because you saw these particular signs that that specifically was God telling you that it was okay.
A marquee that says be brave and courageous because I didn't want to do it. I would have
Okay.
kept trying to nurse her.
Okay.
You
But
know,
even
the
your
vacant,
husband said, but I'm sorry, Chris, I don't mean to cut you off, but I was just like remembering something that you said previously. You said even your husband said that when he saw the cat, that he was also saying, oh, okay, it's time for her to go. Is that correct?
I talked to him about the pause in the water. Yes.
Okay.
He said
Yes.
it's time. But he knows I have a hard time with that. And he knows I would
Mhm.
have kept nursing her. I
Mhm.
would have nursed her forever.
Mhm.
I needed the encouragement to be that brave and courageous to let her go.
Okay. So there are marquees that are kind of littered all over that says things of that nature. I know that where I live, off of the boulevard, it says there's something that says that you are beautiful.
Why did I
You
take
know,
that path and not my normal path?
I don't know why you took that other path besides your normal path.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
how
Exactly.
but what I'm saying is that just because you took another path and saw that sign, how does that really say that that specifically was God?
Because he made me take that path.
How do you know
I
that?
don't, I, I never took that route.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Do
It was
you do
just,
you
I'm going
do you
out this
live in
way.
a
There,
do you live in an area where there's several different routes to get to a specific place?
This was, this was from the mall. I usually
Okay.
go down 8th Street, the highway,
Mhm.
basically. Okay. I ended up going out the exit to a side street with stop signs.
Mhm.
I don't, I've never done that before in my life.
Okay.
Can't explain why I did that day.
you know what, Chris, we still got a lot of calls. We've been on this one for quite a while, and as much as I've been enjoying the conversation, we kind of do have to move on so I can get to all the other callers. So I want to give you the last word, though. So if you've got something you want to end the call on, can you please let us hear it?
I'm just going to say thank you for letting me talk. And Kelley, you know I love you. And
it was good to see you Tuesday.
Yes.
Bad circumstances, but it was still good to see you.
Yeah. We'll talk soon.
All right. Bye-bye, Chris.
Thanks, Chris, for calling. Bye-bye.
And before we do anything else, I want to thank, every week we thank a particular Patreon. We make the Patreon of the week. And this week, before I do anything else, I want to thank our Patreon of the week, who is, waiting for it to come up on the board, I hear some type, Jonathan Raudebush. I know Jonathan.
We know Jonathan. Yay, Jonathan.
Right, this is a nonprofits takeover.
It is. Thank you, Jonathan.
Oh boy. Now I also wanted to mention before we get into another call that we now have a really exciting new way to support the ACA. Ooh. And what I would like you to do is check out this video.
Have you ever wanted to make a permanent impact on the Atheist Community of Austin? Help support our space for free thought by buying a custom engraved brick to be laid on the building grounds to help raise funds for improvements. Our building has stood as a beacon for years, bringing people together. But 3 years of emptiness due to the pandemic have taken a toll, leaving it in disrepair. Help us restore this hub of connection and support by buying a brick. Moses had his stone tablets, but we're doing our own version. Join our brick fundraiser and let your engraved messages stand the test of time, minus commandments. Visit tiny.cc/ACA bricks for more information.
All right. And just so you are aware, we are now accepting super chats, and we may read them live on the air as long as they are YouTube appropriate. So feel free to make us read the things you've written, assuming they are appropriate. And I noticed that we actually do have a couple of at least one super chat.
Yay. Thank you, super chats.
Thank you, Super Chat. I'm going back to find it. I have to scroll way back up. There it is. And it's from, oh my goodness, Blind Limey, who's been a member for 6 months. And he sends us $5. And he says, to paraphrase Roy Batty, all these beliefs will be lost in time, like farts in the wind.
Indeed.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. That is wisdom.
That is wisdom.
That is wisdom. Farts will be lost in the wind. Yes, it will. Especially when
yes. And if you would like to support the show, you can also do so by donating to our Patreon at tiny.cc/PatreonTW. And there's a couple of different tiers there. You can get your name shouted out there in the show if you donate. And you can also support the show by becoming a member, a YouTube member, for just a few dollars. Like, I think it's not much money, just a few dollars a month. You get emojis in the chat. Your name gets highlighted in the chat. It's as little as 99 cents per 99 cents. That's what the fuck? It's only $1. Yeah, so go ahead and do that. That's awesome. And with that, I think we should go back and take another call.
Let's do it.
So I have Rich here from New York. He wants to, it says, how to challenge Christians' ideas about miracles. Hi, Rich. How are you? Oh, here we go. Hi, Rich. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing fine. How are you doing today?
Good, good.
So I am lucky enough, or quote unquote blessed enough, as I always say to them. I have a group of Christians that I debate a lot, and one of them is a minister. And they always present these miracles, these one-off things that are just so crazy that, oh yeah, this person was healed of cancer. Or how about when 9/11 happened and that one lady was saved because she was because she was trapped under the stairs and she was praying, and the Lord led the rescuers to her voice. And
which didn't help, but it didn't help the other 1,000 or so people that died there that day, right?
Right.
Oh, forget about the ones that prayed before they jumped. And God and Jesus couldn't put out their hand to catch him and float him to the ground like a Charmin commercial, you know. But so I said, you know, that's not a miracle. I said, this is what would have been a miracle for 911. This is one example I said to him. When the planes hit the building, somehow they both skip off the building, go careening into the Hudson River. They skid, and the water hits the front. And the only people that die are the hijackers. And everybody walks out of both planes.
That would have been miraculous.
And the same thing
would have been very miraculous.
Yeah, and the same thing would have happened in Washington. And when that one was going to crash in Pennsylvania, somehow they would have stopped them and they would have landed it on the field. I said, those are miracles. So this is what I proposed to him. And it may sound sort of morbid, but he was driving me crazy. And I said, it says in the Bible that if you pray and if you're pure in heart, if you pray to God, he's going to heal, right? And there's healers out there. And I says, what we're going to do is we're going to find the most pure in heart person in the whole world. There's 8 billion people in the world, right? He goes, yeah. And we're going to find, and I said, I know this is horrible, stage 4 cancers that have metastasized into the lungs and into the bones. And we're going to get 1,000 of those people. And I'm going to say, your God is so powerful. I said, wait a minute. I'm going to be nice. At first I said 40%. I said, no, I'm going to be really nice. Of those 1,000 people, this person will pray for all 1,000 of them. And only 10% of them have to survive. Then I will accept that as a miracle. And he says, well, you don't know if the God, I said, just, the Lord that may not be working through that person. I said, the Lord can give us one of 8 billion people in the whole world to do this, can he? Mm-hmm. Can we find one person? He danced around and he would not accept that. I said, okay, let's take it down to 5%. I'm going to be really, really generous. Of those 1,000 people, only 50 of them survive, who have stage 4 cancers that's been metastasized, and every doctor they've gone through has said, you're not going to live. Only 50 of them to be healed completely, no cancer, out of their bones and everything. I said, that's when I will accept a miracle. So my point is that when we have these discussions with Christians, we spend too much time arguing about statistical improbabilities that will happen. There are always that percentage of people, if it's like 1/10 of 1%, whatever it is, 1 of 100th of 1%, that somehow cancer is going into remission. Mm-hmm. Or like that lady who, in the, in 9/11 in the towers, somehow the stair fell and she was laying there and she was praying to God, and somehow she heard these voices. And at first she thought it was voices, but it was really God leading the rescuers to her. That story, they played that on CNN. I want to break my TV. It so incensed me and it angered me. Yeah. And so I think what I always try to do now is anytime someone tells me that, I reverse it on them. I said, stop giving me these one-offs. I said, give me a real miracle. Like I said, the planes hit the building and somehow they just skip right off the building. It just, and they end up in the river and everybody lives except for the hijackers.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I think most Christians accept the woman underneath the stairwell as a miracle. That's the problem. You're looking at it with critically thinking, looking at it logically. They are looking at it as proof of what they already believe. Right. So now no amount of logic or critical thinking is going to make them change it because they already believe it.
Right. It's like what I was saying to the previous. It's like what I was saying to the previous caller, and when I asked, like, have you ever heard about confirmation bias? If you are a person that believes in certain things, like you believe in miracles, you're going to look for them. Even if you're not necessarily looking for them, you're going to look for them in different tragedies or any type of experience that you might have, just to confirm what you already believe. And there's going to be other
yeah.
people around you that's going to do the same if you all believe in the same thing or something similar. So yeah, and that's, but the thing that I usually, when having these conversations with people, is more like I want to kind of look at your claim, what you're saying, and really ask questions, like using the Socratic method to see like if your claim holds water. Because if a person is stuck in a building and stairs collapse and the building collapse and you're kind of stuck in this area and you hear voices, and then and then you end up crawling out because you're hearing those voices that's kind of telling you that, and you're using your ears to kind of guide you where you need to go. How do you know specifically that that was God guiding you with the voices that you heard to the rescuers? How do you know that?
And the worst thing about that is for CNN to put that story on TV.
Yeah.
When they know there were victims who got on the phones with their parents or family members, and they prayed for them.
Yep.
And they died.
And they never came
for
home.
For CNN to put that on TV, do you know how absolutely cruel that is?
Yeah.
That is like when I
I get that you and I see it that way, but again, 90, I'm not going to say 90%, but again, 50% of the people watching that felt good about that story.
Right.
They literally felt good about that story.
Yeah, it's their.
And they didn't even bother to think about the other, what was it, 1,200 people? They didn't even bother to think about them.
Yeah.
The people who died and the 300 rescuers. And even, it's like people, it's like I saw a friend today on another one on Facebook going to the doctors, and listen, I love her dearly. And she's going to get her cancer to be checked. Mm-hmm. And let's pray to God that there's no cancer found. And I started thinking, wait a minute. So now you're going to pray to God for the cancer. Now, if the cancer is not found, is it because you prayed and God removed that cancer that minute that you prayed? Or maybe the cancer just was not there anymore. But you can't, to your point, to explain that to them, number one, they would say that I'm being mean. But I'm not being mean. If the cancer was there and you've got examined, then the cancer will be found. The cancer was not there because you prayed before the doctor came in to take the test. Like, are you telling me there was a cancer there and then you prayed and God removed that cancer? Like,
that's what some people believe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. God,
and there's a lot of different explanations for that, right? Like I was once diagnosed with lung cancer, and 5 weeks later, I was told I didn't have it after going through a bunch of tests. Mm-hmm. So, like you were talking about the cancer being there and not being there, I was never there, and I was told it was. So, right. But it was never there.
Yeah,
so
it's called a false positive. That's right. Yeah. To your point.
Misdiagnosis, whatever.
But and that happens, and that type of stuff happens a lot. So, but again, we're going back to confirmation bias. Like if she is concerned that she's having these symptoms that could be a particular cancer, and she's praying to God to take the cancer away or to take whatever away, and then when they run to test, they say, oh, it's not cancer, you just got an upset stomach, so whatever. And hallelujah, right? Mm-hmm. And instead of just saying like, oh, okay, well, my symptoms were something else the whole time, and now the doctors, after they did their test, they confirmed that it's something else instead of cancer. It never goes to that instead of, oh, God did it. And again, that's when you ask like, well, how do you know? Well, I prayed. Okay, but how do you know just because you prayed? Because like there's been studies on prayer and about people praying for things and for loved ones and for all this stuff. And, I know that a lot of us have used that particular phrase, nothing fails like prayer. And that's because it's been tested to show that prayer fails a bunch of times. because they're like I just think about like other people who have been diagnosed with cancer. People prayed for them, for their loved ones to get healed, or that person may have prayed themselves to get healed. I think about that woman who prayed and sent all this money to a televangelist, and then she ended up dying because she believed that God was going to heal her, and so she didn't take any type of treatment. I mean, like, so where was God with that? But like, you are so special that you prayed and God did this for you, but somebody else who could be just as devoted, they're not. I don't get that. That makes no sense.
I don't get it either.
Mm-mm.
And then one other thing I challenged him with. I said, when HIV was discovered in the 80s, it was the scourge of the devil.
Right.
God was going to wipe out all these devilish people, these gay people.
Well, it was the scourge of God, not the devil, right?
Right.
Yeah, that was God's
Right.
punishment.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, but of course, God would never do it. He just would allow the devil to do it. Let's not get it twisted, because God is good.
Oh, I heard many televangelists back then saying it was God's wrath that was doing it.
Sure did. I did too.
Yeah.
Sure did.
So my question to him is this. I said, do you know that there's a percentage of people who have been found to be HIV positive and have never developed AIDS, even in the 80s and 90s? I said, so what does that mean? I said, these were gay people, and there have been cases, because there's no disease that kills 100% of the people, 100%. There's always that statistical probability that someone is resistant. And there have been people who have been HIV positive without any treatment who never developed AIDS. I said, so what about them? What happened with them? Was that a miracle? Was God doing a back-ass miracle to show, see, I'm killing all these people, but this is this one gay guy or this one person that I'm going to save. But they saved the little boy who had the blood transfusion, who got HIV that way and died of AIDS.
Right, Ryan White.
Explain that to me.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Rich, you're talking to I'm actually a case manager, and I used to case manage people who were living with HIV, and I had clients who were HIV positive, never took medication, and they never developed AIDS. Never. And have been.
I think
it's not a.
I think it's like 10%, 5 to 10% who don't develop it for some reason.
Right. Yeah. They have a natural resistance to the HIV virus. But those people actually exist. And I know that this particular woman who was, because like it was a woman, she got it through her. I think that she said that she was married at the time. And she got it from her husband. So it was she was married, heterosexual sex, but she still got infected. Where was God then? But I don't know. Yeah. And so I think that like a lot of these people who would just take these claims as far as like God's miracle, and they just use anecdotes to prove in their head that this is actually a proof of God's existence. And it's usually like, well, I know a story about this person who did blah, blah, blah. And they prayed, and then all of a sudden, they got well. And that's God. And again, we get to the, how do you know?
And I've had people get like lividly angry at me for me asking them those questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and just like the guy, my friend who I posed the whole thing to, who was the minister, about the person who said 10%, I said 5%. He got angry at me. I said, why are you getting angry?
Challenging what they believe in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You just told me that the Bible says that this person is pure in heart, and if they ask in God's name, he will heal them. So let's find that one person in this world. I said, of the whole world, the 8 billion people, we don't have to find 10, just one. Let's find that one truly pure in heart person. Angered him. I said, why are you angry? I said, don't you think that I think that would be the perfect test?
Well, that's a good point, Rich. I I don't know how well it's going to get through to a lot of believers, but it's definitely a good point. I'm online with you. I do have more callers though, and I hate to let you go, but I'm going to go ahead and let you go, so I can get to more callers before we end the show. So I want to thank you very much for calling in, and if you'd like to call back into the show again.
Yeah, please do.
I will. Take it easy.
Thank you very much, Rich. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rich, for calling.
Okay, and we have a limited edition T-shirt. It says, "Still wanting the truth after all these years, 5th anniversary, 2018 to 2023." Awesome T-shirt. Look at that.
Ooh.
Bigfoot's on there. We got death on there. We got Jesus on there. Flat Earth. Everything that you really don't want to believe in is on there.
Right. Is that Cupid in the corner, if I'm not mistaken?
I'm not sure. You know what? It's I don't think it is. I'm not sure what.
I do see a leprechaun on there. I'm not sure exactly who's sitting on Death's sickle.
Yeah. The death sickle.
Exactly. Maybe like the crew can kind of tell. The crew can probably tell us in the back who's sitting on Death's sickle. I want to know. Yes, truth won. I want the truth. I want the truth now. Damn it.
And if you want more of the truth, you can hear our content in audio only form at tiny.cc/AEN podcast. That's a tongue twister for me, for all of the latest ACA shows in podcast form. So that's always fun. I like to listen while I'm working. So because I can't watch it, but I like to listen to it. And I have a call here. I've got to take it. AJ in Washington says he's encountered Bigfoot and ghosts and has video of it.
Ooh, let's talk about it.
I know, right? Hi, AJ. How you doing?
Hey, Kelley, it's me. Not much. I've been watching your little broadcast thing. It's been interesting, especially that first one.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I've been doing it for 7 years, studying and ghosts and seeing UFOs and Bigfoots myself and Sasquatch. And I've had many different encounters with them in my own city as well, which is always interesting. And then the whole ghost hunting thing, the whole thing to me is just a hobby. But it's a fun hobby too.
You're a ghost hunter?
Yeah. For 7 years.
Okay.
I'm a mix of everything, but ghost hunting, UFOs, Bigfoot, mythology, or not cryptic. I can't pronounce, cryptic stuff. Because I've seen more than just Bigfoot. There's a thing called a Pugwatan that's a Native American folklore that I've actually seen myself. And it's an interesting creature that it goes after people that want to tolerate. It's like a trickster thing. But a lot of people have heard them, but have never seen them. But I actually did a ghost hunt on this guy's place in Washington, because I only do Washington stuff. And he was trying to figure out why his house was so haunted. His stuff would be moving around. It's been on the news many times, and we are trying to debunk the guy. Ghost Adventures has been there, Ghost Hunters as well, the TV shows, those guys.
And the guys that are always going to find the ghost next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. Did the guys from Ghost Adventures, I'm sorry, this guy jump in real quick because I'm curious to know. Did the people from Ghost Adventures start yelling and cussing at the ghost just to see if it would actually, reveal itself?
What do you think?
I find that always entertaining.
What's funny is my group is actually the first group to get calls from people like them if they want to go investigate. I've never met them. If I did, I'd just shake my head at him. I'm still a fan of him, but he's got too much TV in him,
Well, that the show's for entertainment, right? I don't think
Yeah.
it's not made for
yeah,
scientific research. It's made to
TV
entertain
reality.
people.
I've seen that with many different TV channels, and A&E is probably like the only closest to the real thing. Discovery Channel, they've got too many rules. My group actually was almost on Travel Channel just for Washington ghost hunting, and they didn't like that what we were doing was real. They wanted to fake stuff, and we don't do that. We're actually against faking yet investigating, even in Bigfoot. I've actually caught 2 of my ex-people faking stuff, and we had to kick them out.
Oh, wow. So I'm curious. I'm curious, AJ, if we're gonna pick one cryptid, and I know that Kelley's favorite cryptid is Sasquatch. I know this because I've got it on good source material that the favorite cryptid is Sasquatch, and low key
up here it is too.
Yeah, so he's mine too. Sasquatch is mine too. So I'm curious. Tell us how you were able to see Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and also catch him on video. I really want to know this story.
Well, there's many stories. I do have a video that's coming out on Facebook and YouTube on my channel here that I'm actually in for the spooky month, the whole thing. But the best way to ever get evidence is by mistake. Don't just think about it. Just go. If you have Sasquatch in your areas, because I know a lot of places they do and they don't because of the different tribes. The northern, they're like the nicest ones you ever want to see. They don't want to, like the TV shows, they'll always run after you, throw stuff at you. That's TV drama. But
the real tribe of Bigfoots are real friendly.
Yeah, they actually are. And the ones, but what's weird is the ones down south from our area are the ones that have the red eyes. Ones up here where I am, they have white.
So the red eyes are mean and the white eyes are nice?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, that kind of makes sense.
Depends on where you are. Like, I don't know if you ever heard about the tree breaking thing. Kelley probably knows what I mean. You'll see markers. Depends on what side of that tree. You don't want to cross on the wrong part, or else they get very territorial. They'll give you warnings. But one of my favorite encounters.
No, I was just going to ask you. So the tree breaking is a sign or a warning to a person who happens to encroach in their territory.
It's sort of like a territory marker.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's a tracking thing. Depends on which way it's bent. If it's bent a certain way, it's a warning. If it's bent I'm still trying to figure that part out because I've actually had one on my video. I've actually had a counter of one where it was behind me and somehow I heard it, but I didn't hear it that clearly. It bent a branch a certain way that wasn't there before. So when I turned around and going, that wasn't there.
AJ, did you see the footage that recently came out of the Bigfoot in Colorado that was sighted off the train?
Yes, I did a video of that. The people debunked it as a thing for the train. Yeah.
Okay, so it was like a part,
like something that was staged for the people on the train.
Yeah. Because Colorado does have big Sasquatch, and theirs are way different than the ones we have here, which is really interesting. Like the ones in Texas are the skunk ape, I believe, or is that Florida?
That's Florida.
Skunk ape, that's right. Yeah.
Skunk apes are in Florida.
Every area, different tribes of Bigfoot are going to be different. The height-wise, the smell, the color. But the one I had, I was actually not even looking for them. I was just taking photos of birds and trying to record them. while I was setting up, I heard a splash in the creek that I'm in next to. Okay, was that a tree? No. Okay, I don't know what that was. And all of a sudden I hear, what's that?
Oh well, no, I'm sorry, AJ. I just want to jump in because I am a cryptid novice. Okay.
Yeah.
And I am always extremely curious to know things when cryptids come up.
Yeah.
Because so you mentioned different tribes and kinds of specifically of Bigfoots, that are different depending on what where they are happen to reside. So the Florida ones are like this. There may be like a little bit shorter than maybe the Texas ones, and
etc. is more hairier than the ones up here, and they're more mean.
Okay, gotcha.
I understand.
Okay, yeah, kind of like depending on depending on where you go, like maybe one bear is like friendlier than the other. Kind of like pandas are playful, but grizzlies will kick your ass. Okay. So but like,
it's basically the same thing. Like the brown bears that we have here, they could care less who you are. They'll just walk away.
Right.
The grizzlies are playful too. They just play really rough.
Yeah, well, I think it's the same issue. Like they can be playful with one another, but if they feel like they're threatened or if you actually encroach on their territory, they can get upset. Which most animals do. But I'm curious, how do you what type of research specifically or no, that's not my question. Let me come back. I'm rewind it back. My question is, what source material are you using to learn about specific Bigfoots depending on where they happen to reside?
The different tribes.
Just studying and doing
so
my own experience.
Okay, so Kelley, you mentioned the different tribes. So you're talking about
indigenous. Well, that's what AJ said. He said there were different tribes, so that's why.
Okay.
That. Native Americans have their own tribes, like how every state has their own watchers. Same thing.
Okay, so the source. Hold on. I'm trying to get back because I'm really trying to learn here. So the source material that you would use to know which tribe of Bigfoot that you're discussing would come from other watchers that happen to be in that area, or in your own experience. Can you kind of like expound on that?
I've had a similar. Mostly, it's people that have actually interviewed that had the similar encounters like I had, but not as close. I've actually had people come up to me because they ran, because of TV makes Bigfoot scary. My daughter seen one herself by accident. She didn't know what it was. She thought it was a bear until she saw Henry and the Hendersons, one of the best Bigfoot movies out there. And the first thing that came to my mind oh, that's a documentary. She thought that was real, that the movie was real because how realistic that looks. Until I told her, no, it's just a movie that they made because of what happened to somebody that they had a encounter. The person that made the movie had an encounter in Washington, and he wanted to make a movie about it. That was very similar, seeing it out in the wild, thinking, what would happen if Bigfoot got in your house? Kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, like a what if story, and depending on his particular experience. Okay, so the source material is mostly other people who may have cited them, and your own experience. What other source material are you using to kind of like corroborate? I saw a Washington Bigfoot. that looks like this? Like what source material what else are you using? Like, I mean, because like, and the reason why I'm asking this question, I'm sorry, say that again. No, I was giving an example. Like, say for instance, if I decide to go bird watching, let's just say I want to go bird watching, and so one of the first things I do is I may go to my library and pick up a book of different kinds of birds. And
the Audubon Society Field Guide to North American Birds.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that, right? And then so like and I may like travel to, let's say, Canada, to actually see like specific birds and because like all this data has been collected. Right. It's been collected and it's been placed in these particular source materials that have been vetted by other I forgot the fancy word for bird watching, but they've been vetted by other people who have studied birds, and that these particular species of birds may live in this area. So my question is this: is there anything specifically like that could be used to corroborate tribes of big feet, so that you could say, I saw this?
There actually are some books, just not many people know that Bigfoot does have different tribes for different things. Because
I guess to simplify it, what Cynthia is asking you, is there a field guide to North American Bigfoot tribes?
There you go.
There probably is, but I haven't really seen anything. There's guides how to see where they've been and whatnot, and research. But there are books, like eyewitness books, that'll tell you where. One of the best groups out there is what is it called? The BRFO. And on their website, you can actually read about eyewitnesses where things happened.
So this is their recount. So this is their recount of eyewitness testimony to Big Feet. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And I've actually interviewed a few people that's nearby me that's had the same encounter with the same color, height-wise, belt-wise.
Yeah, AJ, I just wanted to just jump in and just say this, because I know that we need to move on to another call. I get, again, a little fearful when I hear eyewitness testimony, especially like eyewitness testimony in the court of law is usually like the worst testimony that somebody can get to actually getting to the truth of whatever happened. It's even like the rumors of eyewitness testimony that came up when people were saying that there was eyewitness testimony to the resurrection of Jesus Christ. I don't know. It's kind of nebulous, but I think it's interesting that you do this and have seen this, and I'm hoping that you will call back and talk more about some of your experiences that you've seen with cryptids, especially with Sasquatch. I make sure that I will tune in again, because this is fascinating. I want to learn more.
Well, I never finished what happened on the first one.
We're actually already over time. The show ended like 4 minutes ago, so I'm sorry, but and I have one more call. I want to try to get to him at least for a couple of minutes to let him get through. But thanks, AJ. Please call back again. We'd really love to hear more from you. We really, really would. I hope you call back. Okay, and with that, we're going to try to get to this last call from Top G in Texas. Oh, wait, you know what? First off, if you happen to be in the Austin area, October 29th, 2023, then you should please consider joining us for the live broadcast of Talk Heathen and the Atheist Experience. Ooh. Talk Heathen will be hosted by Christy Powell and Johnny P. Angel. Oh, that's a freaking awesome lineup. And the Atheist Experience will be hosted by Johnny P. Angel and Sophia Spina. Sophia's amazing. I really like Sophia. She's cool. Doors open at noon, and we hope to see you there. And something new that we just started doing, available at atheist-community.org, are printable call-in flyers. You can post these with permission to community bulletin boards so that people know to call the show and defend their faith or their belief or their gods and superstition, talk about their paranormal activities, etc. So look at those, check them out, make a copy, put them up on your bulletin boards, and maybe we can get some more calls from your area or people that you know even. And you can email truthwanted at truth@atheist-community.org. And you can reach out to the ACA at tv@atheist-community.org to see what's been going on at our website, or to see what's been going. Man, I am tongue-tied tonight. To see what's been going on our website, go to atheist-community.org. And there is a Facebook group and a Discord group that both run by fans for fans. So go to tiny.cc/FBTWG to interact with other fans in Facebook. So we are going to get to this next call real quick. And this is from Top G in Texas, who wants to explain how to quantify spirituality. So, hi, Top G.
Yes, because I heard you talk about it earlier in the show.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to talk about. Yeah, definitely.
I wanted to make a suggestion to look into the neuroscience of religion, if you haven't. And, you'll find there that they will induce these type of spiritual experiences in their volunteers. And so that would be one place to start if you wanted to quantify what people mean when they speak of spirituality. I understand a lot of people have different connotations and mean various things, but one good place to start is in the established neuroscience that's been done.
Well, with that, because we don't have the ability to just look that up right here and talk about it. You seem to know something about it. Can you please explain it to us real quick?
Please do.
What the connection between the neuroscience and spirituality is?
Sure. The term that's used at Bigfoot is after William James' work in the early 1900s, which has been refined and defined throughout decades of research. So we're talking about studies that have gone on since the Marsh Chapel experiments of the 1960s, even to the more modern studies with Dr. Roland Griffiths and his team in Baltimore, Maryland.
All right. But what I'm asking you to do is tell us what it is, not who's doing it, but what it actually is and what the connection is.
Right.
Okay, so they induce in their volunteers, after William James' term, what they refer to as a mystical experience. And that's the term that you'll find in the West. If you go to UK, they call it a reduction in the default mode network, which is the areas of the brain responsible for self-reflection. In other words, you're what Freud might call the ego, where it's like, I'm going to do this tomorrow. I did this yesterday. I'm making these plans. Those self-referencing areas of the brain are diminished inside the experience. And so that's one stepping stone into how they quantify these experiences, which they call spiritual or mystical.
Yeah, what you're doing is... What are you trying to communicate, that there are certain parts of the brain that can be stimulated to create these experiences?
No, definitely. Yes, they can be stimulated. Perhaps you've heard of the God helmet. It was like a motorcycle helmet that was fixed with these magnets. It's like a customized motorcycle helmet, and of course and then there's studies where they use certain psychedelics. They've also had nuns who have a lifelong practice with contemplation, the Carmelite nuns, which they studied under fMRI. And, there's been a lot of studies done in this area. So, I mean, if you're wondering how to quantify it, that's as
Well,
much.
I'm not trying to quantify the experience. I think we can do that. What I'm trying, or not the actual workings behind it, but what I want to quantify is what people are experiencing when they're going through this. When somebody says, I did something spiritual today, what is it that they mean by that?
Right.
That's what we're trying to get an answer to.
Yeah, and that's not easily understood, especially if you haven't had the type of experience that these people are talking about, because it deals with the dropping of your ego, of your ordinary sense of self. And so, that's what people. So people.
I'm sorry. I was asking because I want to kind of go back really quickly to this induced state that people would be subjected to in order for them to have said experience. How is the induced experience that your brain then your brain does something equate to that being a spiritual experience?
Well, I think this term, this way that I was trying to attempt to define it in it. So, you have this perception that I'm speaking to you right now, you're speaking to me, and you're like Cynthia talks to Top G talks to Cynthia. Well, that ordinary sense of self that you have no longer is entailed within that experience. And it's not like it's replaced with the kind of nothingness, like there's nothing there. What people tend to experience is kind of an enmesh of, like, let's say they might have an impression where all time, past and future, are collapsing into the moment, or they'll have an impression where they see consciousness as unified with all people.
Can I ask you a question, Top G? Have you had one of these experiences?
Yes, I have. And it's the whole reason I started diving into the studies and started studying comparative religion to look more into this phenomenon.
Okay, because you keep saying people have, other people have this, but what I'm more interested in is what you experienced.
Yeah, and what induced
it? And what led you to believe that this was, and what led you to believe that this was a quote unquote spiritual experience?
Yes.
Well, the reason I say it in such a way is because I don't see it as exclusive to myself. When I read a description, I'm like, wow, this is exactly what I felt. It seems to be like a universal phenomenon in consciousness.
Okay, well, what I'm asking, though, is for you to explain exactly what it was you felt.
Right, please do.
Yeah, so, the ordinary that I have, is no longer there. In psychology, they refer to it as ego death. And so, there is no longer myself in an ordinary sense that I understand, myself.
Okay, but how did you get to that point? What was the experience that got you to that? You jumped from the before the experience to after experience, but I want to know about the experience itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've had it through meditation. I've also had it through a near-death experience. I've had it through psychedelics. So there's not one specific way to get there.
I didn't ask about how you got there. I was asking you to describe the experience.
Well, no. Well, this is what I'm saying, that it's not easy for someone to do that because we understand things in tense time. We're like, we're talking right now. We might do this tomorrow, but no such thing exists there. There is a sense of like timelessness, like all time, past and future, collapsing into the moment, and that's not easy. That's not something very easy to describe to someone who's never experienced it before. And so,
well, how do you? So I'm sorry, I need to jump in here. So you experienced something and you were induced in through meditation, sometimes psychedelics, etc. How did this lead you to saying that this was spiritual?
Because aside from losing a sense of an ordinary sense of self or a sense of time, it was also filled with something that the Christians call agape, but it's translated to unconditional love. So I saw in that experience, I glimpsed a sense of a complete, infinite, unconditional love for all people and things, nothing excluded. And
so how's that spiritual?
That was, how is unconditional love spiritual?
Yeah. Yeah, how's that spiritual?
Like when I think of the word spiritual, I'm thinking about something that has to do with spirit.
Yeah.
So you can unconditionally love people without spirit, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a misconception I had as well. I thought of spirit as something airy-fairy, as something, I didn't think of it as something we could actually experience, and I think that's the conception that I think of spirit. They watch Hollywood movies and they see the Patrick Swayze as the ghost, and they think of the disembodied, entity that he becomes outside of his, his material body. And
I'm not. I actually wasn't thinking of a ghost. I was thinking of like some inner spirit, as most people would describe it. And I'm not sure what an inner spirit is, so I'm not sure what would be spiritual in that regard.
Well, I would relate it to this inner potential in one's consciousness that I really believe is a potential in us all, and it's simply that most people haven't had it. Most people haven't had this type of experience, but so nevertheless, it is potential. There.
You said it's inner potential in one's consciousness. You say this inner potential in one's consciousness. That is that what you are? Is that what you are defining as spiritual?
Yes, that I would put it that way. That's one way to put it, definitely.
How is that spiritual?
If it's an inner potential in your consciousness, I really believe the way it relates to spirit is because, like you said, it's inner. It's inside one of us. I think it's what led people to even develop the religious vocabulary in the first place. Words like God, or it doesn't matter which religion you go to, Nirvana in Buddhism, Samadhi in Hinduism. I think these are all related to these potentials in consciousness that people have been tapping into for millennia.
Okay, so like a lot of times when people are describing consciousness, it's a property of the brain. So the brain is a tangible organ that all of us possess because it kind of tells us, tells your lungs to make sure it's taking in air. It's telling your heart to beat. It's telling your arms to move, and it's even helping you formulate sentences. So that's a tangible object. How, though, are we using this language to say unequivocally that the inner portion of your consciousness is spiritual?
Well, I think that assumes that consciousness is a body. I don't think we've necessarily established that within neuroscience. I think that's why, these topics are still up in the air in neuroscience and being studied, and why consciousness is still, something to this very day is heavily studied within neuroscience. Because I think it's a materialist assumption to say that consciousness is something generated by the brain.
Do we have any other example that can be corroborated through a methodology from scientific method that shows that consciousness is not a property of the brain?
I don't think it's necessarily that it has to be something else, a property of something else outside the physical brain. I think it's more in the sense and how it operates within the physical brain.
Are you saying this is what you think, or this is what you know based on science that you've read or have gotten from other people who have studied this?
What I'm saying is that there's no established case in neuroscience that for either one, whether I'm going to argue for one model or whether you're going to, someone tries to argue for the model of consciousness being generated by the brain, there's no evidence for either or. And I think that's why neuroscience continues to study consciousness and why it remains such a mystery to us.
I'm not going to say that I'm no neuroscience at all. I'm a simple social worker, but having read some papers, studied psychology when I was in college, and even having conversations with other people who happen to be in this field, never has it ever brought up that consciousness is something that is nebulous, ethereal, anything to that, anything to that experience, anything to that, at all. I'm sorry, my words are escaping me. To the point where we are just saying that happens to be something that's like intangible, or it's or something that's kind of like made up, or like, can't be seen. I mean, like, or like, of course you can't like physically touch it, but like, we don't necessarily have any evidence that points to consciousness outside of a property of a brain. I mean, like,
You've never
even
heard
when
of
people are talking, anybody's just talking about like the mind, it's still property of the brain. Consciousness comes from that, still property of the brain. Like, I'm still failing to see exactly how is this thing actually pointing to something outside of the brain.
Yeah, it seems to me that you're describing something that's physiological and not spiritual.
Yeah, especially since we don't necessarily have any evidence that shows that particular property that you're discussing is anything outside of anything physiological.
I've never heard of the mind-body dualism, or the hard problem of consciousness. In other words, it may be that, classical mechanics alone cannot explain consciousness. That what they're positing today, that we may have to relate it to quantum mechanical phenomena such as entanglement or superposition to ultimately explain what consciousness is.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying that we have all the answers right of now. I mean, like, we know a lot about the brain, and a lot of what we know about the brain. Hold on one second, Top G, and a lot of that we learned about the brain, especially when it comes to some of these different things that have been equivocated to something that's like metaphysical. We have shown that as mapping from the brain, and even like utilizing some like outside stimuli to show what the brain can do, like when you're seeing like like trippy shit, like when you're taking the psychedelic or what have you. These are still different things that are happening because the brain has been stimulated in some kind of way. And even though, as some people would say, well, that's your consciousness of working, or your mind is doing something, what blah blah blah, where is it in any particular place where this thing happens to be pointed to something that's spiritual, unless this is something that somebody thinks or something that they believe? Where is the science that actually backs that up? Because right now, science is now pointing to something that is like spiritual, metaphysical, intangible, ethereal. It's pointing to more so an emergent property of the brain. So where's the other portion of that?
Right now we don't have that. We're not even for consciousness being a byproduct of the brain itself. There is no established neuroscience for even that. What you're saying, it suggests there is no established science for that. Even that was my point. And
are you sure about that?
Yeah, it just seems to me that if the brain isn't working, there is no consciousness. So there's got to be a link there, right?
Yeah. Well, I challenge you guys to, after this, find any study that establishes that consciousness is some kind of generated or byproduct of the brain. You will not find it. There is no such study that establishes that within neuroscience.
All
right, you know what? I'm gonna go and check that out. But we do have to get wrapping. We do have to wrap things up.
Sure about that.
All right. Like I said, I'm going to check it out, but we also do have to wrap it up. We've been, we're way over time. We were over time when I took your call, but I wanted to get you in. So I would love it if you called back again and discuss this some more. I think it'd be worth more discussion than we have time for right now. So I want to thank you very much for calling in. And hopefully you will call back again, Top G. I'll give you 1 minute to get the last word in, okay?
Sure. I wanted to real quick just go over a couple models. I'll leave you with one, and the common one that I hear when it comes to spirituality is the radio model. That let's say the brain was akin to a radio transceiver, then consciousness is the signal that radio transceiver interprets. Then now you have a model where, you know, if you destroy the radio, if you destroy the physical brain, that doesn't necessarily mean you destroy the signal. I'll leave you with that.
All right. I'm not sure. Thanks. Appreciate it. I'm absolutely not sure what that had to do with spirituality.
I don't either. Kelley, we was looking for spirituality. I don't know if we found it, and I'm kind of sad about
I know. I'm kind of really bummed out because I really, really wanted to do it, man. I really wanted to find something.
I know, like, tell us, like, okay, well, nonprofits is wrong. You talking about spirituality, and you don't know what it is. Well, I'm about to tell you what it is. Damn it.
Well, I've got a few things I wanted to say.
Yes.
One of the things I wanted to say is sometimes I'm hanging out and I really want to listen to the ACA content, but it's not on all the time. So I'm thinking to myself, how can I listen to it? But we've got you covered now. We have two 24/7 live streams with clips from AXP and from Talk Heathen, 26 seasons of AXP are on there. I think Talk Heathen is on their 5th year, so you get lots of clips from both shows on both channels. You can watch or simply listen to your favorite hosts, discover some hosts maybe that you've never heard of before. Visit tiny.cc/AXPTV and tiny.cc/HeathenTV to join in the fun. I know there's a pretty good online community in the chat room there too. I'm often there, and Infidel64 is in there a lot too, if you know who he is. And I want to thank Cynthia for being here tonight. Thank you so much. Where can we find you?
You can check me out on the nonprofits that yes, I'm one of the ACA hosts for the nonprofits. Yes.
The flagship show of the ACA.
The flagship show of the ACA. So check me out there.
And everybody stick around, hang out to go out the Atheist Community of Discord. We're going to go over there and do a little bit of an after show. You can find us there at tiny.cc/ACD Discord. And I want to thank Helen Green for being our backup host tonight. And last but not least, I want to thank the crew. Bring the crew cam up. Those are the real wizards here. That's where the magic happens with those people right there. They're the best. I just show up and talk and didn't even do a good job of that tonight. But
okay.
So thank you for making me look good. And I promised people earlier that I had a special announcement tonight. We are going to add a new permanent official host to Truth Wanted, and it will be me. So you'll be seeing me a little bit more on Truth Wanted. And I'm so happy and I'm so excited. I hope I can do just as good a job as Dan and MD Aware and ex-Christian Aaron and John Skeptic. So I'm really happy to be amongst their ranks. So that's it for, the prompt for next week is, don't forget, write a fortune cookie message that is oddly specific. You can comment on the video. Don't put it in the chat on the side. Put it underneath. And tune in for the beginning of the episode next week to hear the top 3 answers. And besides that, that is it for tonight. I am Kelley Laughlin, and always remember to keep wanting the truth.
Watch the non-profits and join the hosts in the live chat. Visit tiny.cc/YTNP.